Hello everyone, I'm King Happy and welcome to my Enderman farm tutorial. This has been called the hooker because it relies on hooks. This is a one wide, low piston usage, very high efficiency Enderman farm with optional redstone cool gadgets at the bottom. So before we start, I'm going to show you its nice cool feature of having a one wide farm. This is probably the most safest farm you can have. Endermen cannot hit you, they can't even see you, you can kill them. And let's look at its pretty little feature of having a one wide. I'd say it's pretty cool. So, let's get on with the basics. So, off to build an Enderman farm. But first, you need to find your portal, take out the healers, and kill your dragon. So, along with any Enderman farm that you ever build, this must be more than 128 blocks from any spawnable landmass, and also to make it most efficient, your finished farm must be less than 128Y. This increases the efficiency, and also you can only load up to 128 blocks around you, so any more than that doesn't help you at all if you're at the bottom. And to do this, we need to move down to y equals 1. So you build your bridge across 128 blocks away, make sure you light it up, and let's go see how you can easily make your way down. So the easiest way to get down is to build 2 blocks side by side and create a cobblestone generator. When this lava spreads down one wide, this one down here can then be turned into cobblestone. So when it's down a bit, we can then add our water, and this will create a cobblestone generator, solidifying everyone as they go down, and that will go down to the void, y equals 1. Then you can remove the water and the lava. Then all you want to do is slap a ladder on this, and when you get to the bottom, build a couple of blocks out so you can stand on it, and then make your way 128 blocks that way, lighting up your walkway as you go. So, I'm going to do that now. Okay, now you're far enough away from the island and at the right level to start building your Enderman farm. You can easily replace this bit here with a train track, so it's faster getting back and forth. This is just an easy way of getting down to the required level. Now this farm is actually going to be built starting on y equals 2, but we are going to be putting some things on y equals 1. So the first thing I suggest you do is build a nice safety platform after you've built this. So here we're at x equals 250, it's about 106 over there, so we're far enough away that if we start building here, we can then build a thing before that, and even if we're in the outer area of our Enderman farm, we will not spawn anything over there. So it's a bit better to go a little bit further than 128. And what I'm going to do now is build a platform, and for this platform it's going to be 8 in each direction, including the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can do that on both sides, and then we're going to do 7 wide. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're going to expand this 7 more that way, and then I'm going to build a safety platform around that. I'll be back with you then. Okay, so I built a safety platform. It doesn't really matter how big you make it, as long as it's wide enough so that if you fall and your items disperse, that first of all you don't fall into the void, second of all if you die, your items are scattered within the confines. There's a bit at the back because they're redstone going there as the optional part for the crusher, which is really nice. And this farm is actually built at y equals 2. At the moment we're at y equals 1, and built this platform at y equals 1 so that when you want to then build things underneath this, if you want to hide any chests in the ground, if you want to have any lighting or anything coming out the bottom, then it is possible with this farm, and only if you've already built the platform below it before you build the top one. So I'm just going to build this one, and then we're going to start with the redstone setup, and then we're going to work our way up the farm. Okay, so onto the redstone. This is pretty simple stuff, just follow it nice and slowly, and all these blocks you can use whatever blocks you want. You don't have to use iron blocks. I'm just using this to be nice. Same way you don't need to use the glowstone, and you don't need to use half slabs. You can use full blocks if you want to. So these are optional inputs. I'm just using buttons, and I'm making a T flip-flop to make this a very nice circuit. So all you do is put blocks around the edge. These are half slabs for easy use, and these are on the level y=1. These come around all the way around the back, same on the side. You come to a repeater here, you come along 3 extra blocks after the repeater, and you come up 2. And now we're going to build the T flip-flop. This super fast flat design, and I picked it specifically because it is flat and easy to hide underwater, which we'll be doing soon. So just make sure you get sticky pistons. You need to have one there with a block on the end. You have your one torch there already. You can put full block here or half slab here, doesn't matter. I'm just using half slab so it looks nice. One piece of redstone dust there. We're going to then build another sticky piston on that. We're going to remove the block at the bottom. I'm just going to put half slab there. You can put whatever you want there, you can keep the bottom block. And so the redstone torch on that, block on top of that. That's your T flip-flop done. We're going to get the output for this as an inversion of the end. So I'm going to go along here, and I'm going to show you that this works and why it works. So if I just put a block there with a button, every time that's pressed it's going to change state. So from on to off, and off to on. Okay, so I'm going to bring the wiring around, and it may look a bit weird, but you'll see why in a minute. You go 2 along, and then we'll build a block on top of that. Redstone goes along, powers this block. We're going to build a redstone torch on that, and a block above that. We're then going to put some more blocks over here. I'm just using half slabs because it's easier. And this one then goes across. From this we have a 3-step repeater, and then a 4-step repeater. These are very important on the timings, you'll see why soon. Put a block on the end with some redstone, and this will be your first level where your Enderman farm will land. So, please give this a quick little test. Piston comes out, that will be farming mode, and that will be pearl collection mode. So all I'm going to do now is bring this all the way along. The redstone dust can reach all the way to the end, so that's fine. Build the pistons on front of that, add the redstone and the blocks in front. Okay, so now onto the crushing pistons, and we're going to put a redstone torch up of this one, powering a full block. We're now going to go 3 blocks along to be in line with this one. One more in front of that, and then a sticky piston. One more in front of that, and then we go to the next piston array. So this front bit will be exactly the same as the bit below. The important bit here is we're going to have redstone dust going along here, and then we're going to have a 2-step repeater, and we're going to then put a block on top of the piston, and then another 2-step repeater. What this does is makes a 2-tick pulse, which is enough for the pistons to go out and retract without losing the block on the end, and this crushes our Enderman. So now I'm just going to finish up doing this, and I'll be back with you. Okay, now to make the farm safe for players, all I've done is added in blocks between the 2 piston arrays, and what you're going to do now is extend them so you can see where you are. And within the farm, as all farms, you can't have it more than 2.5 high, so that will be the maximum height. So then we just go up and we say that that will be the roof height, and then you spread that along. But Enderman can still hit you here, so to make it safe you need to have one more half slab along the front of the killing platform. And all we're going to do now is spread out this roof all the way around. I'm going to add in some glass, and I'll be back with you. Okay, the roof is on, and I've built a ring around where the crusher is, so just one block all the way around, added in little sidebars and some glass. Now the next thing is to work out where you need your vines. These will reset the fall damage on the Enderman, so no matter what part of the farm they fall from, they will always have 1 hit left when they get to the platform. And I was adding a little bit of light down here to make sure no Endermen do spawn at the moment. I'm doing this on peaceful, so that's why there's no Enderman around at the moment. And from here, we are currently at y=3. From here, you want to go up to y=48. So all I've done is build up a pillar, and if you're doing survival, if you just add a ladder to the side of it, you can easily get up to the top of the farm. And even if you fall, the safety net should catch your stuff so you won't lose it. So you come all the way up here and we go up to y equals 48. Stand on here, you see it's y equals 48. So the platform you're standing on now, you'll then put your first block of vines on, and all these go down is 2, and then you put a button underneath these. 2 vines is enough to reset the full damage of any mob, and you can also remove these blocks at the back of it. Now vines have to be grown on full blocks, but any hanging vines you can just remove the block. And what we do here is I'm adding a top half slab on the button level and a bottom half slab on the vine level. This is to try and stop the Enderman from jumping onto solid blocks and climbing around, so it does speed them up going down as much as possible. So let's build this across as the first ring, and with all Enderman farms they're all the same, they all have safety rings along them. So from here you want to then build your safety rings all the way down to the bottom of the farm. So if you take this as a starting point, you want to be putting a block every at least 2.5 blocks. So I'm using half slabs, so that if you assume that we have 1, 2, 3, the moment if you stand on that one there, you have 2.5 blocks high. That means it's Enderman proof. So at that height, you're going to build one. So 1, 2.5. You can use 4 blocks if you want to. You don't have to use half slabs. It's just a nice way of doing it. So of each level, 2.5 blocks away from each other, or 2 for full ones, you're going to build a ring all the way around, mirroring the top layer. And I'm going to carry on doing that all the way to the bottom of the farm. Okay, rings are done, and they're all Enderman proof, so no Enderman can spawn in them, and no Enderman can fall out of them. So they will not die past the vines unless you want them to. And here we add 1 block above the vines to start our first pad, and we're going to follow this pattern for the first one. After this they're slightly different. So this design preserves all air blocks around the spawning pad. If you don't understand what that means, it means that if there are all air blocks around the actual pad they're going to land on when they spawn, then they spawn more often basically. That's all you need to know. So here we're going to build 1 piston up, and then on top of that we're going to build a block. It has to be a solid block that you can put a tripwire on, and then we're just going to build that across and join the tripwires up. This means that when one spawns, it activates 1 piston only. So every Enderman that spawns, you lose 1 space for as long as it takes for it to fall down, which is why it's so efficient. And what we're going to do now is just move these along. They're positioned like this because even though this is less than 2.5 high, see it's more blocks than needed. It just means that we can still preserve that airspace over there. So all you can do is build this around, and the really important thing is to remember to keep your rings on the outside going, so that Enderman can't spawn on top of that one, and then not on top of that one, and so on. So every time you do a ring, you're going to carry it going up. And now I'm going to finish this layer off. All you do is project it forward, and then we'll show you the normal layers. Okay, so the first layer is done, and in total there are 26 layers of pistons, which is a total of 442 pistons, just under 7 stacks. So it doesn't use very many pistons at all compared to other designs, and its spawning rates are the same or exceed all the other farm designs so far. So it's very efficient. That's what I mean by efficiency on this concept. So the only difference between this layer and the last one, last layer we had a half slab or a block underneath the spawning pad there. Here we have it again. The only difference is that they can spawn on this block. So we have a half slab here. You can use a full block of course, and that's just one behind where the tripwires are. So that's the only difference. You don't need any corners of that. You need to keep going this corner here. And I'm going to move this going along, and I'm going to go up the rest of the platforms to the top, and I'll see you when they're done. Well, you can see why it's called the hooker. So this is up the maximum building height for the farm. Not the whole building height, but the maximum building height we're going to do today. This is 127 high, 107.5 like that. which means this is the highest chunk which loads when you're down the bottom. You would be loading another chunk above when you're right at the bottom, but if there's nothing in it, it can't check for any spawning spaces. If you have another chunk active, so you have another layer on top, then it has to do extra calculations, and that slows down spawning rates ever so slightly. But if you can't load the whole platform anyway, it doesn't matter. So that's why we only got up to 26 layers. Now, you've got to make sure this is spawn proof. So the only addition change to the top layer compared to the rest is that there is a half slab there, half slab there. This half slab down the side is all you need. It's a bottom half slab, so nothing can spawn on it. The back here is a bottom half slab as well. So this is important when these ones are half slabs, those ones don't have to be half slabs. So these ones stop spawning, and it works all the way around. So this is Enderman proof for spawning where you don't want it. They'll only spawn inside the trap. Now we've got to go down and start playing with the bottom. And I've covered this wiring with glass. You just make sure that there is no more than 2.5 high gaps. Nice, simple, easy thing to do. And like I said, the wiring is optional anyway. And from above, you just make sure that there is no gaps that would then wash away the wiring itself. The one with the piston here doesn't matter because that block goes up and down, it won't actually reveal any wiring. And same with ones on top of the pistons. And when you put the wiring, when you put the water on top of it, you're going to make sure that it's not going to flow over into here. So you can just add a block and a half slab. You don't even have to have the blocks at the bottom if you don't want to. I'm going to put there for this design. And now you're ready to remove the bottom. So you don't need the safety rail anymore, as you don't need to go up there anymore. But before that, as an example, I'm going to build this out a little bit, make an example interior, same like it is on my Let's Play world, and put in a beacon just to show you how it works. So I'll be back when that's ready. Okay, example inside and beacon done. You note that the beacon is more than 32 blocks away from the killing pad, but less than 40 blocks away. So you still get the effect when you've got the full sized beacon. I've added in command blocks to get you here and back really quickly for the download. That is also in the description. Now we're ready to put water on top of this. So what we need to do is have a look back here. All you need to do is place one half slab here to cover up the wiring. All this wiring is covered up by glass. Same with it here. So we can just start putting on our water now. And I'll get back to you when all the water's on top. And easy tip is just to make an infinite water source inside your base. And then just come out with a load of buckets and bucket everything up. And after you've done this, then your Enderman will always stay inside the trap. They will not deviate and they will never ever be able to kill you unless you ender pearl inside the trap, which would be very clever. So I'm going to finish this water off and then we'll have the final look at the farm. So your player death-proof Enderman farm is now completed now the water is on. No Enderman can blink out of the trap once they're in it. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Hope it's taught you a lot. I really hope that you put this into your world. This is just the one I designed for my Let's Play. I never intended it to be such a good design. That's my opinion anyway. But it just happens to turn out incredibly efficient, both resource wise and experience wise. So thank you very much for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.